Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, the master of disaster. And what we're talking about today is a continuation of our lessons on body language and nonverbal communication. What you're going to be able to do by following these videos is be able to assess, identify, and observe particular behaviours and cues in your day-to-day life. You're going to be able to understand the signals you send out into the world, and it's going to essentially be able to be used as a medium to you reading another individual's mind and be able to communicate ever so better than what you're doing now. So if you enjoyed the topic at hand, if you want to learn a superpower, I recommend you click subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. And without further ado, what we're going to be talking about today is picturing people naked. So, of course, I wouldn't recommend you just picture them naked on a day-to-day unless that's your thing, but regarding the lessons we've gone through so far and correctly, or at least more easily being able to approach and analyse body language signals, you'll be able to approach what would this mean if they had no clothes on. As most of these behaviours are evolutionarily hardwired, they're primitive behaviours, okay? So it's a primitive side of the brain which creates a lot of these gestures and behaviours, and they tend to stem from a freeze, flight and fight response. Some people would even go as far as freeze, flight, fight, and another F word, which I'll let you conjure up in your mind there. So some people believe that there's 4 responses in the face of a threat. Now, being able to observe somebody's body language and picture them if they were naked would be able to allow you to assess genital behaviours and exposure and stuff a little more so, okay? So you'll be able to see if somebody's, a man in particular, may be boldly putting himself out there to the world as a means of defiance and dominance, exposing himself to be, very confident at that particular situation. Alright, so if an individual is there territorially, putting their arms over chairs, legs spread and so on and so forth, if you was to look at that position whilst the individual was completely naked, you'd be able to see the very bold expansion that the individual is sort of portraying in taking up the space, as well as exposing oneself as a way of saying, I don't care, this is me and I feel extremely confident at this time. On the flip side, let's say somebody is wanting to conceal themselves, you're going to be able to see that a little more clearly as well. So when people, produce the fig leaf display, which I've done in a prior video, which you should check out, aka the funeral pose, so both of the hands are covering the crotch. You'd be able to see what if they were naked whilst doing so, and you'd be able to see it's obviously a very defensive position. Alright, the way people walk, if they were naked, you'd be able to see exactly as to whether they're leading with the hips, leading with the chest, when they're standing normally, what they're sort of accentuating on. So is the woman puffing up and protruding her breasts? Is she, slouching over a little more so to conceal them breasts? You'd be able to see the very minute change in the spinal, maneuver, more so than given they had clothes on, and it would give you a better insight as to whether they're being more open or closed in that particular situation. So there you go. Let's talk about the arms for a minute. The arm holding behaviours, such as the arms crossing the body, the self-hug, so on and so forth, they'd be a lot more evident and a lot more realistic as to the defensiveness of them gestures. So when we're standing upright, and especially when we're completely naked, we're going to want to cover ourselves over a little bit more, because potential threats will have a direct means of attacking us and potentially seriously hurting us, considering we have our internal organs on show. Alright, so that's it. It's just a little bit of food for thought. I don't need to go through every single body language gesture, but just applying the fact that they're going to be completely nude. You know what I mean? I think the genital displays in particular are going to be more of the easier things to conjure up as far as what does this mean, what is this significant of, because it would be ever so, bolder, given the individual had nothing on. Alright, so it's just a little bit food for thought. Do I do this? I don't consciously approach it this way all the time, because you just learn to appreciate it as it is, you know what I mean? But I have read that some individuals do approach it from this method, and it's good for them, you know. It's understandable, it definitely has its applications. So if you find that easier to be able to assess what an individual is trying to do, or why they're sort of contorting themselves in such a way by applying this method, then power to you. And that's about it. So click like, click subscribe, leave a comment on your opinion. We're signing out. Peace and love, people.